Hey everybody, welcome to Fractured Focus, episode number 17, the show where we obsess about everything from geek culture to nerd news, along with random topics for discussion. I'm one of your hosts, Ben Gordon, alongside my brother, the illustrious Dan Gordon. Dan, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, thanks.
Matt, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
And coming in live from the great state of Nebraska, the original Swino of Omaha himself, Matt Swinehart. Matt, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm a little hungover. Kind of had that lingering headache all day.
Yeah, March Madness will do that to you. You know, it's funny. It sucks that the Cyclones lost, but they had a great year, and it was a great comeback towards the end. I thought they were going to do it. But for the first round of March Madness, I experienced that pain of the hangover the next day. I decided to take it easier last night, so obviously we had to do a trade-off, and I'm glad that you were able to pick up that mantle. I appreciate that. Someone's got to be partying for this stuff, too. Hey, Cyclone Magic, next year, all the way. Big 12 champs for sure, but then we'll go all the way next year. Let's go ahead and jump into our topics. And this is one that I'm sure will just be nice and calm with no heated discussion whatsoever, because you know how we're very docile on the show. You know, we're usually calm and collected the whole time. Actually, we kind of are. I don't know. Yeah. Some more than others. It has been rumored, it's gotten out all over the blogs and stuff, that they are thinking about rebooting The Matrix. That first thought going into my head just makes me boil. Like, why would you redo something that was that iconic and that perfect the way it was? The screenwriter specifically said, no, that just got out there. It's not a reboot. We're not redoing it. Those movies should never be redone. They were perfect the way they are.
Well, that's bad.
Well, not perfect the way, but for what they, like, trying to redo something iconic and creative that was so new and original. I mean, that first one just caught everybody by surprise. I know the second and third one received as well, but that first one, everybody was talking about it. It just became a huge phenom. But the screenwriter said, no, it's not going to be a reboot. They're not redoing stuff. He said that some of the stuff they love they're doing is that they're continuing to talk about other stories in other shows and movies out there that explore the roots and the backgrounds, like Rogue One and other stuff. And I'm assuming what he's alluding to is maybe this is going to be like Morpheus younger or something like that. They had there was talk about the guy that played, what was his name? Was it Michael B. Jordan, the guy that played in Apollo? Is that his name?
Creed.
Yeah, and Creed. I'm sorry, in Creed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That he was rumored to play a role. I mean, everybody jumps to, is this Morpheus earlier? I mean, I would be interested in seeing some more stories about what was going on. There's a huge world of stories to tell in that universe. I think as soon as the word reboot gets thrown out for something like this, the same reaction that we all had is pretty common. Obviously, it sounds like from what he said, it's not going to be a reboot. But even if it was speculation on doing a reboot or a restart of The Matrix, is there any universe that you'd want to see that happen?
A reboot? No. I like the fact that they're actually just they have like this expansive universe that they're able to draw on. Mm-hmm. They had a chance to explore that a little bit with the Animatrix. Yeah, which I think they did really well with that. So they kind of established there's a lot of different directions you can really take with this kind of storytelling. And just to leave it that open-ended is, for me, is a lot more encouraging than just kind of seeing just Neo version 2.0.
Yeah, that definitely had me calm down a lot. And you know how the internet works. As soon as one word gets out there and it leaks to the 12 other blogs, and then it's up on the fake news, Facebook, all over the place. But Matt, what's your thoughts? Could you actually imagine a Matrix reboot that you would want?
No, not a reboot for sure. Thing about that, I mean, the first one was an original story. The second and third one is actually kind of biblical.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they actually kind of follow a biblical story, almost note for note.
Yep.
I don't think I could see him redoing it. Now, I didn't appreciate the second and third one as much as I did the first. They were good movies, and they have their place.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's a huge world that they could do stuff with it in. I mean, yeah, the Animatrix was awesome. That was really cool. What was it? How many different stories was that?
That was about 5 or 6?
5 or 6, and they were all stylistically different the way that they did it. It fit in the canon in the world. Yep. I don't know if there was a couple of games they did. One that tied in right with the Matrix 2 and 3 that was on all the major platforms. I think it was just called Enter the Matrix, or maybe it was just called, I don't remember what the Matrix did, a couple of them. Then they did another game, actually by the Wachowskis, who also did this first game, where like it was like a different ending for the Matrix. Like Neo becomes this huge, I don't remember how it was, and I don't want to like we're spoiling it with this like 15, 20 years old.
We're not going to play it. So
if you haven't watched The Matrix yet, what the hell are you watching this show for when we claim to be geek experts and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that there's a huge world that they could do. What kind of stuff would you guys like to see? I mean, obviously, going back further in time in Neo's history would be boring because it doesn't really get exciting until
see him and work in the office. Who took my stapler?
Hey,
who took my stapler?
How are those TPS reports coming? You know, I mean, that would be boring as shit. But there was a long history that went on board. Even if they take the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar, the ship that they pick up Neo on. How that came to be. Before that was, I mean, how many times did they say that Zion rose and then falls? Like 6 times or something before?
Probably more than that. If you remember looking at the architect when he gauges Neo's response when he tells him like this is kind of the cycle that things have been going, and you see the monitors.
Isn't that all the different possibilities that he could make at that time?
I thought it was like the prior ones that might have occurred.
It's possible. I mean, they always left a lot open to interpretation. And it's funny how these movies actually spawned huge philosophical groups and discussions because the premises of them, does free will exist? Is choice an illusion? All that kind of stuff. But I mean, yeah, what I would love to see is, because I think they said in the movie, and who knows if he was lying, because again, this is interpretation, but I think they said this is like the 6th or 7th time we've destroyed Zion, and we've become exceedingly efficient at it. And they actually talk, and they allude a little bit to it in the first movie when he says, the first Matrix was designed to be a utopia where everybody would happy. So obviously they went through incarnations. I'd like to kind of see it like the first, go all the way back when the machines actually take over. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
But then see how they try to do the whole first Matrix that doesn't work really well.
You want to see it to fall apart?
Well, yeah, but like, what would the machines describe as like a utopia for us? What does that mean? I mean, it sounds easy to say, but they could get really complex with that. I'd kind of be fascinated to see that. I mean, I guess they could jump into, this is Matrix number 4. Cool. I mean, right away, it pops into my head. Well, what about the first 3, motherfucker? I'd kind of like to know what happened. They don't need to speed all the way through them, but I think there's a lot of points they could take.
This is the Ninja Matrix. This is the Pirate Matrix.
Yeah.
This is the Matrix where we tried to make everyone a Teletubby.
Yes.
Yeah. Lasted 2 days. Yeah. Waste of coding time. That took.
We were in the red on that one for a while.
Yeah. There's a lot of even machine AI that totally got kicked to the can for that bullshit idea too. But I don't know, Matt, what would you like to see if they delve further into this Matrix universe?
I guess more of the backstory. I mean, Morpheus is one that stands out.
Yeah.
I mean, he started it with Neo, the red pill or the blue pill. I guess he's really the only one I could see.
Right.
Having his own kind of prequel.
That makes the most sense, don't you think? They'd want to at least attach it a little bit to the original if you want to get some of the fan base. I mean, if it's all completely new, I mean, they could do that, but it'd be cool if it had at least a little bit of a tie into the original.
But I think the world itself is just enough of a tie-in. I mean, as long as you're the viewer is aware of kind of that they're in the Matrix, you can see Matrix-esque elements in there, like glitches or something like that, kind of floating about. Or bending of the laws of physics, or things of that sort. But kind of in line with that, I'd really like to see a story actually told, maybe from one of the AI's perspective.
Yeah.
So you'd actually see nothing like is big as like the Agent Smith or the Oracle or something like that, but just like a simple program operating in there, maybe having his own moral crisis with what we're doing right. I have a task to fulfill, and maybe like there's a group of people or an individual or something that these people do as far as an activity or something cultural that kind of draws him to this, and kind of say there's something more here than just walking batteries that we need to keep asleep, even though technically that's my job. So how do you wrestle with that? I mean, I'd like to see just that end of it. The Animatrix and the kind of touched on that a little bit, but obviously like the original series really drew upon this is essentially just humanity trying to save itself. But what about the fact that even though these machines are not all just they are technically all individuals,
right? Yeah, I mean, they said that in the first one spawned a race of AI, consciousnesses and stuff like that, and they even dabbled a little bit. They touched on it in. What was it, the third one, when Neo is stuck in that subway, which I still don't fucking understand. What the hell that was going on. There's stuff I still don't understand.
He's flying
that was like the ghost.
Yeah. But they had those programs that was like a man and a woman that had their program offspring that they were like kind of trying to get out to save their child by transporting them through the Merovingian and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Clearly, if there's a race of AI sentient beings, however they exist, it's hard to imagine that not one of them would have an issue with what's going on. I mean, clearly that's not, because look at the Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Well, yeah, the Oracle, the Keymaker.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'd like to see if something actually happened to the Matrix after 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like people living on the surface.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Something like that might be kind of interesting. Like, Neo saved Zion, so now we're able to actually go on the surface and try to start again.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of having to live underground.
That would be cool.
And how would you balance that against, because again, what they were trying to do is just give everybody a choice. You can leave the Matrix and you're out, or you can stay if you want. So if that's the case, you have like a sect of people that I'm assuming most of them leave, and a bunch of them, kind of like Cypher, is like, with what you're describing, no, I'm good here.
Yeah.
And how do you reconcile essentially these two groups of people now? Because there's going to be people on both sides that are kind of screaming bloody murder that what the other one's doing is wrong.
Yeah, the more that you bring that up,
and it's less about the AI being the oppressor, is just two different groups essentially just kind of going at it themselves.
That would be really simple to bring up conflict, and how do you? Yeah, the more you think about that, that would be real. I mean,
the natural borns. All those people.
Yeah, those
so
natties.
They're going up to the surface, looking for the sun.
Yeah, fucking pure blood. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to see more of that Machine City. We only really got to see a glimpse of it in the third one. But that would really could. I mean, didn't they end it with, or I guess the premise of the movie was because they scorched the skies or whatever, we can't exist out there, we can't survive out there with. I don't know. Yeah, that would be really cool to see. I wouldn't have no problem delving back into that. I guess I didn't even think about afterwards, because I keep my first thought when I think afterwards, because don't get me wrong, you're right. The more I think about it, you could. My first thought is, well, yeah, but like the whole thing that they do, the whole Matrix trilogy is about coming to a sense of completion that now the problem is solved. But then I'm like, well, yeah, but so is Return of the Jedi, and we're doing more of that shit. That's still really good too. You can always tell more story. That's cool. So now that we know, or at least from what's rumored on the internet, that it
exists.
Yeah, I mean, this hasn't even been greenlit or anything, but. Again, it doesn't have to be for us to talk about it on the internet and spread it around. But at least we're clarifying.
It's fact.
Yeah.
This is real.
We're not.
It's really happening.
We're not spreading across
if
more.
If any of this shows up in a script, I expect some residuals or something.
Is that how this works? Have we been going about this all wrong? If we come up with an idea and get it on YouTube first, then we're owed royalties?
As long as you just put a big TM at the end of every segment.
Damn, well, that's awesome.
Patent pending.
We won't consult a lawyer. We're just going to assume that's the case and see how it goes. So. That's cool. So you guys would have no problem with them driving back into this universe as long as it's not a reboot?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's done well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no shit. Just make sure Zack Snyder doesn't do it. Oh, shit, he went there. I feel bad. I'm sure Zack Snyder seems like a really nice guy, and he has made some great movies before. I just don't like what he's doing with DC. So, you know what? It's not all his fault. Let's just move on.
We somehow tied the Matrix back to how much DC is.
Do you think
dropping
anybody that watches this regularly is going to be shocked by that at all? The fact that I haven't tied it that much into Star Wars yet still baffles me.
This is less about opinion now, more about branding. This is what you've come to see. This is what you're going to get.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Remember, don't spread it around that it's a reboot being made that's already being propagated through all the blogs. According to the screenwriter, it's not. But how do you feel about diving back into this universe? Would you be excited for it? I hope you would. Let us know in the comments below.